their whole lives. They're familiar with doing all of that. For them to go to a commercial airliner, that might be quite a transition. It's a transition to go from one to the other. Dennis had done that. But what I'm saying is there's a lot going on when you make that transition. Now, let's talk about the NTSB briefing and what they said and what they didn't say. Here's the things that they said initially. The flight was less than 10 minutes long. We know that. 7 people were on board, 3 were pilots. There was a text message sent by one of the people on the airplane. Many of you have read about this in the news. The NTSB said the family has allowed them to say what the text message was, but not who sent it. So we don't know. We don't have verified who sent it at this point, but the text message read only 2 words, and it said emergency landing. So anything else you've read in the news or you've heard about, the official information from the NTSB themselves was that only 2 words were transmitted: emergency landing. What could that mean? Was there an emergency on board with a person? Or was there an emergency with the airplane? Now, I think based on the flight profile of the airplane, it's reasonable to assume something was wrong with the airplane, not somebody on board. If somebody's sick on board, you're going to continue to climb out. You're going to contact ATC. You're going to get a nice instrument approach in someplace. Everything's going to be stabilized. This unstable turnaround and come back to the airport, most likely something was wrong with the airplane. I'm going to give you 4 case studies. The 4th one, it's remarkable. All right. So the aircraft first struck the lights, the approach lights to the runway. The airplane was fully configured according to the NTSB, which means the landing gear was down and the landing lights were on when it struck that first light stanchion. It was slow and it was low. According to the NTSB investigators that were in front of the camera, they said that those lights were on the same level, or actually at one point a little bit below the surface of the runway. So they were really, really low as they were coming in. There is no flight data recorder on this aircraft, but there was a cockpit voice recorder. Now, why one and not the other? Well, none of that cockpit voice recorder or flight data recorder is required on this particular aircraft. It depends on what they're doing with it. And in a former life, this airframe's over 40 years old. In a former life, it was a Part 135 aircraft, and they required cockpit voice recorders, but not flight data recorders. So that's why it had one and not the other. Now it's owned by a civilian concern. It doesn't have to have either. But fortunately for us, it has a cockpit voice recorder. The NTSB said it's up in Washington, D.C. right now being deciphered. So they're trying to get the information off of it. Hopefully it will glean some really good information. This 4th scenario I have for you, the cockpit voice recorder played a huge role in that. All right.